Good afternoon, Missouri City. I'm your Mayor, Robin Ellicott. I hope everyone's staying safe. We know there are pressing issues like power outage, water outage, as well as we have updates on key topics of city emergencies. Power outage is the main concern that we're dealing with in Missouri City today. We want to emphasize to our citizens that the city does not manage local utilities and is not responsible for this power outage that we're faced with. However, we are working closely with our partners to resolve the issues and will provide updates as they become available on all of our communication outlets. According to CenterPoint Energy, they are restoring the power through the grid as soon as it's made available by third-party power generators as received through ERCOT. At this time, about 1.39 million people are without power in the state of Texas, 15,164 people, that is about 51% of people in Missouri City are without power. These numbers are getting lower, but not at a pace that we would like them to. ERCOT said that they were able to direct utilities to restore 600,000 households last night, and their officials said about 2.7 million households still do not have power. They're working to restore power to as many people as possible today. If your power is currently on, please try to conserve electricity by following the few steps. Keep your thermostat at 68 or lower. Avoid using large appliances like washing machines, dryers, and ovens. Turn off and unplug non-essential lights and appliances. Open your blinds and shades for light during the day. And close blinds and shades at night, reduce to heat loss. Use your devices on a low power mode. The priorities issues of our residents continue to power and water outage. Warming centers, dangerous roads, schools and business closures, and suspended trash services. Today, we have reached an agreement with Fort Bend County that is, to partner with them and open the Missouri City Community Center, Missouri City Rec Center, as the warming station. More details will be shared later in this conference. I cannot stress enough that this is a historic time for our great city. We are dealing with this weather emergency, the COVID-19 pandemic, a struggling economy, and limited resources. Despite these challenges, we will get through together. For all your questions and concerns, please continue to call 281-403-8500. Now we have some special guests here this morning. Our House District 27 State Rep, Ron Reynolds, and he's going to share some very important information about energy legislation that he is working to introduce in the 87th Texas Legislative Session. Today we also have several other speakers that are here. We'll be talking to you. We have our Quad Valley Utility District, Joe Taylor, talk about water. We have our City Manager Jones and Tramika, who is our emergency coordinator, and we have our acting fire chief, Mario Pertita. We have several council members on site, Councilmember Boney, Councilmember Emery, Councilmember Clauser, Mayor Pro Tem Maroulis, as well as our our police chief, Mike Berzan, and our Fort Bend ISD Board of Trustee President, Addie Haliger. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our State Rep, Ron Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor Ellicott. And I will correct you. You said this morning, we started this morning, but we are working well into the afternoon. And I want to commend Mayor Robert Ellicott, our City Manager Otis Jones, all the council members, Mayor Pro Tem Maroulis and council members, as well as the police chief, the fire chief, all of the city officials with the Office of Emergency Management, as well as Addie Helliger, the board president of the Fort Bend Independent School District, to come together and work collaboratively for the best interests of the citizens of Missouri City. We're dealing with some dire circumstances, some unprecedented times, and the people assembled behind me have been working tirelessly to make sure that we have some solutions. We know that many people, unfortunately, are without power. Many people are without water. And I want to commend the city for making sure that we had a warming center up and running in Missouri City so that residents didn't have to travel far distances to seek places where they could get warm. And I want to thank Missouri City for initiating those conversations with Fort Bend County. So thank you for your leadership, Mayor, and everyone assembled behind me. And I'm going to be very transparent. I've received so many calls and so many concerns from constituents and citizens from across the state. How do we get here? How do we end up in the position that we're in now? And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm going to be very candid and really just briefly tell you what happened and how we got here. In 1999, the state of Texas made the move to break away from the national power grid system to avoid federal regulations. In doing so, they put all dependence on ERCOT. I'm sure most people have never heard of ERCOT before this winter power outage, but now most of us are familiar with ERCOT. This is an entity charged with managing the state's electric grid. Because of that decision, millions of Texans are without power. They failed to develop an adequate plan for the amount of load that would occur. And on this past Sunday night, power generation after power generation crashed. Now, this is unacceptable because meteorologists and weather forecasters predicted that this storm was coming. This neglect of responsibility, intention, and planning by ERCOT is reckless. The lack of regulation, inspection, and implementation of planning to prevent these major problems such as this from happening is totally unacceptable. The state of Texas bears that responsibility, not the city of Missouri City and not even Centerpoint, but the state of Texas. It is disheartening that so many of our vulnerable citizens, so many of our seniors and children are without power to heat their homes right now. That is totally unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable that in addition to, as the mayor indicated, we're dealing with the pandemic of COVID, that now people have to worry about how they're going to get heat, how are they going to take care of their families, how are they going to basically stay alive. This is a matter of life and death. And so I am proud to serve on the Energy Resources Committee, and I'm even prouder that Speaker Dave Phelan, the Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives, has heeded our call for an investigation. And so next week, next Thursday, in Austin, the Energy Resources Committee combined with the State Affairs Committee is going to have a joint hearing, a public hearing, to get answers. There's so many questions that we have in terms of the decisions that were made that we entrusted ERCOT with, and we don't have those answers as we speak. There is a failure of communication. Many people should have known that they were going to be without power for extended period of times. As I stand here today at this moment, the most recent communication is we don't know when millions of people who are without power are going to be restored. We simply don't know. Anybody that tells you definitively is lying to you because there is no clear-cut answers. We're still dealing with frigid temperatures, and we still have many of our generators, many of our power plants, wind and solar, that are offline right now. And so we hope that we will be able to get it up and going by the end of this week, by the end of Friday. But right now, definitively, we don't know. the latest communication, ERCOT still does not have those answers. They announced we should be able to restore some customers this afternoon due to additional wind and solar output, but the amount we restore will depend on how many generators actually come online. And so I'm pleased that Governor Abbott has declared this an emergency item for us to deal with this legislative session. I will tell you that we've been kicking this can down the road for far too long. In 2011, after the last major winter storm that we had, there were recommendations that the state of Texas did not heed to. And so we're going to have to address these issues, and we're going to have to address these issues now. Finally, I urge everyone to conserve as much energy as possible if you're one of the fortunate people that have power. If you're able to safely make it to a place with electricity, then please do so, because we don't know when it's coming back on. However, please be aware of the road conditions. We don't want anyone to go out and seek dangerous conditions. There are certainly slick ice and parts that are impassable. And we don't want you to warm your car up inside a garage. There have been many people that have already faced carbon monoxide, and we've had unfortunate deaths. Please remember to turn off gas stoves and propane heaters when not attended. And my final statement is, let's continue to be our brothers and sisters keeper. If you have room available at your home and you can safely allow people to come over, then this is the time where we show that we're Texas strong. Just like we overcame many other matters and emergency situations, we'll overcome this. With faith, working hard, and doing our part, we'll overcome this pandemic, and we'll overcome this tragic winter storm. So again, thank you, Missouri City, for your great leadership. I'm going to continue to speak truth to power at the state level, making sure that we have all available resources from the state that goes to the county, and from the county to the local municipalities. And we're going to make sure, again, that we get the answers to the tough questions, and that we don't, God forbid, if we're ever faced with this situation, that we won't be prepared, because there are going to be some heads that are going to roll. There's going to be accountability. There's going to be transparency. And we're going to make sure that the state of Texas owes it to our citizens that this doesn't repeat in the future. Thank you.
Thank you to our state rep, Ron Reynolds, for giving us that info and detail. And we're hoping that in this session that you will take this up, so this way we are not end up with a situation like this. As of last night, around 12 o'clock midnight, I lost power to my house. And I know that several council members and several staff have been without power for over 2 to 3 days, and others been since yesterday morning. So we're in the same boat as you are. So we just wanted you to understand that we're doing everything we can to get the power back up. But as the state rep mentioned, this might take a little bit longer time than we all think it would. To talk about some more updates, I would like to invite our city manager, Jones, to come up and talk to you.
As your city manager, I got to tell you, I wholeheartedly support the comments of Representative Reynolds and our mayor. This is a time where the focus is on, power, water, warming centers, and those necessities needed to preserve life and keep the integrity of our community moving ahead. I do want to say that obviously non-essential offices at the city is closed, and then I want to continue asking all of you that that you limit your travel as much as you can, but that you take the safeguards necessary to protect your family during this time. And to the water issue, I'm going to introduce Joe up and ask Joe to come up and say a few words about what's going on with the water situation, particularly the boil alerts.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. Just an update from yesterday, and to reiterate which systems are under boil water notice. During these freezing conditions, as we stated yesterday, many households and public water systems encountered broken pipes, Some of these systems had pressure fall below 20 pounds of pressure, and this is a condition that requires a boil water notice as a precautionary measure. And I stress the word precautionary. Most of these systems had some pressure in them. It may not have been 20 pounds of pressure, but the system integrity, we believe, is still good. And once we have a stable system pressure, we verify the disinfection in the system and take bacteriological samples, then the boil water notice will be rescinded. Today, these are the systems that are affected. Quail Valley Utility District, Thunderbird Utility District number 1, Palmer Plantation Mud number 1, Palmer Plantation Mud number 2, Fort Bend County Mud 49, Fort Bend County Mud 26, and Harris County WCID Fondren Road. So the subdivisions that you may not relate where you live to a mud district. So the subdivisions are the Quail Valley subdivision, the Thunderbird section of Quail Valley, Lake Olympia, Oyster Creek Place, Quail Green subdivision, Mustang Trail subdivision, Bradford Village subdivision, and Fondren Park subdivision. So these are the systems that are most affected. So what does a boil water notice mean? Basically, if you're going to use the water for any human consumption, drinking, cooking, washing your face, particularly if you're bathing infants, this water should be boiled and cooled and then used. Boil it for 2 minutes, and that should take care of any bacteriological issues, if there are any. Again, hopefully by the end of this week we'll have rescinded this boil water notice, but for now we're under boil water notice in those systems, and that's basically the update that I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll have Tramika Jules, our emergency coordinator, to come up and talk about the warming centers.
Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned earlier, the city reached an agreement with the county this morning to open the Rec and Tennis Center as a warming center. The address for the Rec Center is 2701 Cypress Point. If you visit a warming center, we respectfully ask that you abide by the following directions. Follow the entrance and exit instructions. Masks must be worn and social distancing must be maintained between family groups. Check to see if pets are permitted on site or in building. Limited seating may be provided. Citizens should bring blankets or folding chairs. Food will likely not be served. The Rec and Tennis Center county will provide staffing in conjunction with city support. There's a list of area centers on the city website. We would like to keep you updated on these important issues throughout the emergency. Thank you, Missouri City, and stay safe.
Thank you, Tramika. We'll have our Councilmember Boney, Councilmember Clauser, and Councilmember Emery, along with Addie, our Fort Bend ISD president. In that order, they'll come and speak to you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you again, Missouri City, for all of your support and your strength during this dire crisis. I want to start off before giving you a few reminders on today by saying that I want to thank Mayor Robin Allicat. I want to thank my colleagues that you see behind me on council, as well as city staff, as well as our key stakeholders. We've been having conversations yesterday, well into the night, early this morning, and well into this afternoon to try to address the dire situation that many of our residents, including myself and several of us behind me, have dealt with. I've gone without water, and we have no power ourselves where I am. And, you know, it's very unfortunate that we find ourselves and have found ourselves having to address a situation collaboratively together with our key stakeholders that the state has put us in because of their failure and their colossal failure of leadership at the state level. But we had to address this as best we can, so I'm thankful that our partners at Fort Bend County have been willing to work with us in order to set up this warming center over at the Missouri City Parks and Recreation Center on Cypress Point. I do have a few reminders to share with you again, like I said on today. The animal shelter, which is located at 1923 Scanlon Road, is open and available to assist citizens and pets. For more information, residents may call the shelter at 281-403-8707. Again, that's 281-403-8707. The city's municipal solid waste provider, WCA Waste Corporation, has suspended pickups once again on today. However, the provider, WCA, is planning to resume service on tomorrow, on Thursday, based on weather conditions. Delays are expected due to service volume, so please be patient. For all updates regarding the municipal solid waste program, please call 281-403-5800. Again, that's 281-403-5800. Please protect your family pets during this emergency and keep them inside your homes when possible, as the cold temperatures are dangerous to their health and their well-being. Lastly, I want to also let you know that Fort Bend ISD campuses are closed today, as well as Houston ISD campuses are closed today, tomorrow, and Friday. And I believe we may have an update on the extent of how long Fort Bend ISD campuses will be closed when I bring up our next speaker, which will be the Fort Bend ISD Board President, Addie Heiliger. But I also want to remind everybody that relative to COVID testing is also canceled, as well as the vaccinations, and I believe more will probably be discussed about that. So I'll bring you up right now, Board President for Fort Bend ISD, Ms. Addie Heiliger. Thank you, Missouri City.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First, I would like to send special prayers out for all of our students, families, and administrators that are out there who are suffering through this particular weather event. Fort Bend ISD will be closed for the remainder of the week. So we will actually resume school on Monday, February the 22nd. We will also continue to work with the county on identifying any of our facilities as needed for any for future warming centers as needed. So we just ask that you all continue to stay warm, be safe, and we'll continue to work with the county on this emergency preparation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Floyd Emery. I'm councilman for Missouri City District D, and I know this is a challenging time for our city, but please stay strong while we weather this emergency. I'd add a comment that I also was without water and power last night and this morning, and it brought back memories of being on a deer lease. So it was not a real pleasure to spend the evening with no heat, no water. I have a few reminders to share with you today. The Quail Valley Golf Course and City Center are closed to the public. We're monitoring operations for the rest of the week, and we'll announce updates as they become available. If you have access to the web, you can go and check out Quail Valley Golf Club website, and they will be able to provide additional information as to what will be open and when it might be open. The second item that I have is for residents who ride the Metro Community Connector. Service has been suspended today, obviously due to the inclement weather. And for updates, please call 713-635-4000. Again, that's 713-635-4000. Again, thank you, Missouri City, and with cooperation from our residents and our county and city partners, we'll get through this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Missouri City. I'm Lynn Clauser, Councilwoman at Large, position number 2. I too, Mayor, want to thank you so much for your leadership during this time. Due to the severe weather and power outages across the state, the Houston Food Bank has canceled meetings and distributions after experiencing power outages and other disruptions to their team members and facilities. Their phone number for more information is 281-744-6971. That's 281-744-6971. Fort Bend Seniors Meals on Wheels has also temporarily suspended service due to weather conditions. Their team has notified all volunteers, staff, and seniors with support from local law enforcement. They are working to get service back online as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mario Partita, Acting Fire Chief. I want to give you an update on your Emergency Operations Center. The Emergency Operations Center remains activated, and we are closely monitoring the outages, roadway closures or conditions, and all weather developments. Staff in City Hall answered and responded to more than 200 calls yesterday, and will be fielding calls today. Fire personnel also responded to multiple service calls where we're out helping citizens with water issues and getting their water turned off and just making sure that people are safe in their homes. We also currently have city buildings that are having issues, including fire stations and other city facilities that have power outages, and we're working with facilities to get those buildings back online. That's my report today, and I'll be turning it over to Chief Mike Barrison from the Police Department for public safety update.
Hello, Missouri City. I'm Mike Barrison, your police chief here in Missouri City. Just to give you a few updates on some of the intersections where the power has been restored. So if you've noticed in these intersections over the past day or so that the power was out, now it is back on at Cartwright in Columbia Blue, Texas Parkway in Cartwright, Texas Parkway in Turtle Creek, Grand Park at Independence, Texas Parkway at Court Road, Texas Parkway at Grand Park, Texas Parkway at Independence, 5th Street at Independence, and FM 1092 in Plantation Settlement. Again, those intersections, the power has since been restored. We are still monitoring several road closures in the area, and those current road closures include Trammell-Fresno Road, which is closed between Vicksburg Boulevard and Hurricane Lane. North and southbound Highway 6 is shut down at the Fort Bend Toll Road. US 90 alternate overpass at Texas Parkway. Also, same intersection is where South Gessner comes together at US 90 alternate. Fort Bend Toll Road overpass at Highway 6 is still closed, and the Highway 288 ramp at Beltway 8 is also closed. We continue to patrol the entire community to make sure that public safety is our #1 priority. Please avoid the roadways if you can. We're not out of the woods yet. We still have some icing issues taking place on the roadway. Also, just a few tips when it comes to carbon monoxide. In the event that your power is out and you're using a heat source, it creates carbon monoxide. It could be even your stove in the house. Please use extreme caution because carbon monoxide is a odorless and tasteless gas. It will displace oxygen. You're not going to realize you have it going on or you're experiencing it unless you have a monitor in your house where it goes off. So in the event that you are utilizing your vehicle to charge your phone or any other appliance, be sure that you're outside with that vehicle running. Do not use it in your garage, even if your garage door is open. Some of the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning could include dull headache, weakness, dizziness, nausea or vomiting, shortness of breath, confusion, blurred vision, or loss of consciousness. The most important thing is it displaces oxygen at a greater rate than you can process oxygen. So by the time you start experiencing these symptoms, you're going to be in jeopardy. So try to avoid using any type of heat source where carbon monoxide is being generated. Again, do not use your cars in your garage. Pull them in your driveway or on the street if you're going to run them to charge your vehicles. And the last thing I'd like to remind you all of is please do not remove our barricades or drive around them. We are monitoring them regularly. In the event that we can take them down, we promise you we will take them down if the roads are passable as quickly as we can. Missouri City, we're going to make it through this. Thank you for your perseverance. Mayor Ellicott.
Thank you. Before we close the conference. We'll take some questions.
Why are we having these power outages when we are the emergency capital of the world? You never hear about Chicago or Minneapolis having energy blackouts. Someone needs to be responsible for this energy failure and debacle. We need a commission to study what took place and need strategic plans implemented so that this will never happen again to our Texas and Missouri City citizens. Can that happen?
Absolutely, that's a great question, and I'm glad that y'all brought up that question. I think probably earlier you heard from State Rep Ron Reynolds talking about the creation of this committee and all of that. I will gladly have him step up and talk about some of that, part of that question.
Yeah, I'll just say briefly, I think that's a very relevant question, and Texas citizens deserve answers to that, and that is exactly what we intend to seek when we have our hearing next Thursday, February the 25th in Austin, Texas, and we will have and summon all stakeholders, including the heads of the Public Utility Commission, ERCOT, and all relative stakeholders with the energy companies to talk about what went wrong and then look at best practices so this doesn't happen again. We know that the state failed miserably. There is no excuse for it. Unfortunately, it has happened, and we will have to address it, and we will make sure that there is accountability and transparency so people will see the process and that they will see solutions, and we will make sure that everyone is aware that of what is taking place and that we implement them. I believe that, unfortunately, the last time that we were faced with a similar situation, we had recommendations from 2011, and those recommendations were not implemented because of cost factors, but certainly you can't put a cost on human life in public health and safety, and we will make sure that we'll address it. Governor Abbott has made sure that this is an emergency item, which means that we will take this up within the next 30 days, and it starts next week. Thank you.
Thank you, State Rep. Any other questions?
I live in Fawn Meadow. Our whole subdivision has been forgotten. We have been without power since 6:30 Monday morning. I am furious. I know people who have gotten their power back and lost it again, but we have never gotten our power back since Monday. And I have been without water since 10 p.m. Monday. I have been sleeping in my car. This is extremely unfair. We have a new mayor and I vote. What are we doing about this?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's like 3 different components to that question, so I'll take the first part. We have not forgotten about Fawn Meadow. Since myself, City Manager Jones, and our Mayor Pro Tem Maroulis was out there on Monday night making sure that the overpass gets sprayed on and we are putting salt on those bridges. And we have continues to keep in contact and connections with certain members in Font Meadow that's been reaching out to us. So the same communication that's going out, it's on our city website, and it is done through all the emails that we're sending it out. So we have been communicating. We haven't left anybody behind. To talk about the water issue, I will have Joe Taylor come up and talk about that Font Meadow if this is something that you can answer to.
And I believe Fawn Meadow is in southwest Harris County Mud 1, and Harris County WCID 2 provides water to southwest Harris County Mud 1. When the water system went down on Monday evening, I believe, it was restored briefly on Tuesday and had full service yesterday. Before we left on last night. In fact, I think it was up yesterday afternoon. So if your water is still off, there's obviously something else going on besides the water system. The majority of Harris County WCID and Southwest 1 had water restored on Tuesday evening.
Let me add something to that, what Joe had said. Please, if you have those issues, contact your MUD district. If not, contact us at 281-403-8500, and we can assist you. If you don't know who your mud is or what the issues are. So please feel free to connect with us and let us know. Any other questions?
I live in El Dorado subdivision. Part of the subdivision has power and we don't have any. We have been without power for 2 days. We are elderly people. When can we expect power to be restored?
When restoration of the power, we don't know. When we have been working with CenterPoint just like the residents have, we're getting the same kind of communication back. As you heard earlier, we have our fire stations are on backup power. So we're running 3 of our stations are also on backup power. So as I understand it, it's a form of a grid. So if your neighbor or across the street and that side of the subdivision has it, I believe that's on a sort of a grid pattern. But I would ask Councilmember Floyd Emery, who's over that district, to see that if he's aware of any other issues pertaining to that question.
Yes, as far as the power, what I'll do is reach out to that section. Also reach out to the HOA so that we get, full coverage of everyone, not just a few people. And we'll work with city staff to see what plans, if any, we can ascertain from CenterPoint to ensure that we get power back to these residents as quickly as possible. And again, I think, as the mayor said, a lot of these work off of a grid, so you may not have power, but the person next door or across the street may have power, and I think that's based on the grid that they've established. So sometimes it feels like and seems like it's unfair, but that's the process that they're working on as far as restoring power. Thank you.
Yes.
I live in Silver Ridge. Thanks for the updates. My second Pfizer vaccine is scheduled for tomorrow through Fort Bend Health. First one was at the fairgrounds. I was told they didn't know where the second one would be given. I have not heard from Fort Bend Health or Access Health and see nothing on their website. Please let us know if vaccination sites will be open tomorrow and how to reach someone at Fort Bend Health.
Sure, I will gladly have Councilmember Boney, I think, talked about the vaccinations, I believe, to address that.
Yes, at this point, we have not gotten any information as it related to vaccination sites being opened. Definitely not today. They're not going to be open, but we don't have a schedule as to when they're going to be reopened. I guess we could also ask Ms. Tramika Jewett if she had any update information on vaccination sites.
At this time, again, we have no additional updates, but please monitor our website. As soon as we get anything from Fort Bend County, we will push updates on our website.
Any other questions?
If we have no water, and do we leave our faucets on or off? Do we keep checking? We live in 12 Valley East.
It's a joke.
If you previously had water and you have no water now, there's either 2 things happening. Earlier today, Quail Valley did have low pressure, so you may not have had water earlier today. If it was prior to today or after about 10 or 11 o'clock this morning, you may have an issue with your personal plumbing. Otherwise, leave the faucets open. So when the water starts running, please turn them off. If the temperature is above 32 degrees or above, please don't let your water run. It just drains the pressure in the system and drains the resources that we're using. So it's important that if you have to let your faucet run or intermittently drip it, do so when the temperature calls for it. If it's 32 degrees or above, I don't think your plumbing is going to freeze, and it would help sustain the water system pressure and volume that we have available. Thank you.
Thank you.
What are people to do in boil water notice areas that have no power or gas appliances?
No gas appliances?
Simply, you'd have to purchase bottled water to sustain yourself until you can get where you can boil water or the order is rescinded.
And to add to that, we're still finding out from this, through the city, getting reports of stores that are nearby, making sure to see if they have products that's available. So Trimika and the city management team will have those updates on the website so that we can make sure that we can get bottled water.
Are the outages still rolling? I was under the impression that power would be out intermittently, but we have been without power for a day or so.
So to answer to that is, the way that it's been brought to our attention was CenterPoint, who manages the electrical. And they're really a management aspect. It's ERCOT is the one that delivers that power to CenterPoint. The intermittent timeout should have been 15 minutes to maximum 45 minutes. So what's happening for a day and a half is totally not acceptable. So those are the issues that we as city are working with, trying to get the information with CenterPoint to find out what's going on. As our state rep, Ron Reynolds just talked about, I think this will be one of the emergency situations that they will be talking about, to making sure, as a mayor of this city, as council members who are behind me, we're concerned about 51.02% of people in Missouri City that don't have power as of 2:30 today. So we're working through that process. And some of us on council don't have power. And so are our staff that's here. So it is a concern. We're still trying to get answers. As you know, that it is impossible to get the answers because all of their lines are full. But we are working through and pushing through. I have been working with other local mayors in town and along with our state rep, trying to push things through. Also working with Fort Bend County as our partners. One of the greatest examples of this is, just trying to understand how the dynamic that we're in, this severe weather situation that we're talking about, just did not happen overnight. We had several warnings. So there will be questions that, I'm sure as a panel of mayors, including our Houston mayor, Mayor Turner, and others are asking questions. And same thing goes for local mayors as well. How come these power are not coming back after 45 minutes?
My name is Dr. Hilda Eagleton. I'm the owner of a small assisted living facility, and I have not had power since yesterday. I am desperately trying to meet the needs of my clients, and I need the power to be turned on. I've reached out, and I was told that my facility should be on a list of critical response providers, but it is not. What can I do? Because I know other similar facilities have power.
Okay, I will have our acting fire chief, Mario Partita, and our emergency coordinator, Trimika, to answer this question.
Critical facilities like group homes and nursing homes are priority, and they're being prioritized to either get power back or finding some alternative source. If you have specific issues to a facility like that, please contact us at the 281-403-8500, and we will directly work with you to try to at least get you in contact with the right people to see where you are on that priority list.
Any other questions?
How long will we have power since it's been restored? Will it black out again?
I wish I could answer that. Unfortunately, I don't. I have heard that some people did get power back and then it's gone. So as I'm guessing, it's going through that process of, how they manage the grid. But even with us, we're still waiting to find out. But on a positive note, yesterday when we reported out in the morning, it was at 45%, and then it came down to 38% as a city. Now we're back at 51%. Earlier we looked at this morning, and it was around 77%. So at about 2:30 or 2 o'clock, I should say, that number have come down from 77% to about about 51%, which is a plus. I would not be able to answer that, but these are things that as soon as we get this information, we'll be putting that on our website.
This is an announcement for all residents. HEB Corporate is checking to see if they can get water to stores to help residents. They will touch base with the city and let us know, and that information will be available on the city website.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that we have?
Are there other facilities in the city that can be opened as warming centers, like the community center or the golf course?
So we are working again. So this conference is supposed to happen this morning at 10 o'clock. We pushed it back all the way to about 1:50 we started. Part of the reason for that is we have all been here throughout the night and working through this morning. And as I can tell you, it took our Fort Bend County partnering with them. It took our state rep, who's here. It took our council members behind me. It took our fire chief, our police chief, to get this warming center that we have in Missouri City, which is our rec center, to be open as a warming center. Which we will put out the time and the information that's out there, but it will be open today, and it will be for 24 hours, and we will push that out. With our community center, the capacity level of, especially with COVID, the restrictions that we have, it would only put us at about 150 people versus I think our rec center, which that number is much higher, which we will project that out to you all. So as a city facility that we're looking at, we have to make sure when we say a warming center that we can have a generator backup. So our rec center, our county, Fort Bend County, is helping us, getting us that generator that can easily be connected to our rec center. So this way that we can be able to call that as a warming center.
Is the warming center in Siena open or closed?
The Siena warming center is, to my understanding, it is closed because they lost power yesterday, or I say early morning around 1:30 sometime. So they don't have power. They don't have outlets that they can that you can charge your phone or work. I've had the opportunity to talk with Commissioner Grady Prestige and working with that Fort Bend County team, and they just felt that it's not fully. You don't have a backup generator, and that's where the issue starts. Because when you call it a warming center, and if the power goes out again, so you're supposed to have a generator that can kick in and that will protect, and that's why we're doing that at the city center and not at the Siena Annex. So as of right now, unless you can look at the county website to see that if they're open, but to Missouri City's knowledge, they're not open as a warming center.
We have no water in Lexington settlement. What's going on?
What's up, Joe?
I don't know when that call came in, but as of this morning and up till noon, as I'm aware, water pressure's been fine in that area. I'm not sure what part of Lexington settlement it is, and is it the entire section, or is it one or two houses that don't have water? That may be due to plumbing conditions.
Does the whole city have to boil water?
Not at this time. Specific subdivisions and MUDs have been listed as to which ones are in a boil water notice. And again, this is a precautionary measure because the system pressure dropped below 20 psi. Hopefully the order will be rescinded by the end of the week, but at this time, citizens in those areas are under boil water notice, but not the entire city. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Does the animal shelter need donations?
We can always use donations. Absolutely. So if you can get that to us, we would love to have that opportunity. And whoever that is, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. The subdivision is actually Lexington Place. Do you have any information on that?
Lexington Place subdivision should have been restored by about between 10 and noon today. If there's still out of water, please call the office again, because our pressure at our office is the same pressure that's in Lexington Place subdivision. And I was there at noon today at the office, and pressure was adequate. It wasn't as it normally is, but it was above 20 psi, so the system's coming back up.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Any other comments from anybody here? Okay. So we'll close it off. And I want to take this opportunity to thank our communication team, our public works team, our IT, all of you that's working behind the scenes, and of course our firemen, our police, that's been working around the clock for 3 days to make sure that we're on top of these things. I want to repeat one more time that Missouri City is not in the business of water or power, but we are with you. We understand as a city we need to help our citizens, and that's part of the reason why have been staying on top of this, making sure that we're bringing our utility mud districts and answering some of the questions and making sure that we're on top of it. Every single person behind me, and that you can't see that behind the scenes that's out here, has been working extremely hard to make sure that we keep our city up to date on what's going on. Fort Bend County, they worked with us trying to get this warming center in Missouri City. And I know that we have not had a warming center on this side of county. So we want to thank our Fort Bend County team, KP George, as well as our commissioner, Grady Prestige, and our state rep, Ron Reynolds, and everyone else to get that. We would love to have more warming centers open in Missouri City, but I was told that the resources the county has at this moment is limited to one, and we will gladly take that, and that's how the rec center has become open, and we're opening that rec center for warming center. And it will be open today all the way through Saturday afternoon, and it'll be overnight. So we'll have more of that information that will be coming out. And we want to thank our fire chief and our police chief for working so hard to make sure that those are happening. We'll come back to you tomorrow with another update at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we'll promise we'll keep it at 10 o'clock. But today, trying to get this warming center open, it took a lot of us, and it took us all of us to make sure that we're here. Again, Missouri City, please stay warm. Please call us if you need any help. We're here. We are working. Even when the camera goes down, we're back to our working to make sure that we're answering questions as to water as well as power. Once again, thank you, and be patient, and please stay warm and check on your neighbors to make sure that they're safe. God bless you.